it does take me 1 or 2 days
Yeah.
to get back into it. Usually, and that is one of the downfalls of traveling around all the time, which is why I think it's definitely much better to just stay in one place for like a month at a time, and then you can build up those routines quickly. So yeah, I mean, I'm leaving here, same as you, leaving here in 2 days' time, and already, you know, my head's somewhere else now. So those little things start to just fall off a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't. Obviously, you've been here a month. How have you found that? How have you found routines? How have you found all of the above, really?
So the biggest thing for me the past few weeks has been basically building habits and cultivating discipline, because that's been something that's been severely lacking.
Okay.
And especially because I get to meet a lot of high-level people. And one thing they all talk about is how they are super structured in their life. And they always understand where their time is going. And it's either those super disciplined people or the type that is always super motivated, no matter what. So as soon as they wake up, they can't think of anything else but work because they're obsessed. So if you're not one of those people, which unfortunately I'm not, so I have to fall into the other category, which is forcing myself, creating systems within which I can just relax into.
Yes.
Which is discipline. It's fucking crazy how you have to basically put yourself into prisons. You can see it as prison, but also it's a backup plan. It's a safety net, and you can always feel relaxed that you don't have to always use willpower to push through every single day. So life doesn't feel like such a burden that you have to push through everything yourself. So as soon as I got here, I have decided that, okay, I'm not actually going to explore so much. I have been doing that for the last 5-6 months or so. And after a while, traveling becomes really similar everywhere in terms of the types of experiences that you have.
Yeah.
The sceneries start to get old, and you start to look for the next thing.
Yeah.
That's me being honest, you know. And for me, it really depends on the people. If you haven't traveled for a long time, this will be so exciting. But if you have been in it, because we always adjust to the new environments, my next thing has been, you know, creating that discipline and having a structured life. So I rambled on for a long time to get to your question, but basically I have been focusing on discipline, and then I haven't been able to see too much outside of Vietnam. I take a couple of days to explore different sceneries. So far I like Vietnam. Quite different to Bali, where I was from a couple of months ago. How about yourself?
Well, yeah, mate, I think that's really interesting. I think there's a few points there. I want to put a pin in the traveling one, because I think you've touched on a really interesting point about things all, like, what is traveling? What does that actually mean? But also, first of all, the disciplines and habits that you fall into. I'm just going to sort something flash. I'm just going to check. Cut that bit out. Just check it's still rolling. Yeah. So talking about falling into, well, building routines, building disciplines that you can just fall into takes away all of that need to have motivation and drive. Whatever you do throughout your day-to-day, you're going to be falling into a habit.
Yes.
You're going to be falling into something that you do. If your habit is that you wake up and you check your phone and then you scroll, or whatever it is you do, you wake up and you get a coffee, like, you just fall into it naturally.
Yes,
You will just, so I think it's really important to, like you said, assess what does your day look like, and what habits are you just sort of naturally falling into. And I'd say some way to describe this is like a pendulum. One of the books I read calls these pendulums that you sort of fall into. The 9 to 5 is like a pendulum that you fall into, and it becomes easy. It's like almost effortless. It's a habit. So what I really like about what you said is, one, you need to, if you want to sort of achieve anything, you need to look at the building blocks. What are the things every single day that you're going to just do over and over again. And that's going to gradually move you towards that goal. But what I think a lot of people miss out on, and I shout about this all the time because it's changed my life, is, well, where are you heading? What's your vision? What's your big vision? What's the thing you actually want to head to? Figure that out first, and you really need to understand it. It needs to be crystal clear. Crystal clear. What do you want to be doing on a day-to-day basis? Who do you want to be around? How do you want to feel? Really understand that. And then, right, what are these building blocks? What is my morning routine? What is going to get me towards that? What are the things that I'm going to cycle over and over and over again that are going to get me there? So I think it's really, really interesting. Yeah, like you said, it's like, right, now is my time to sort of build these disciplines. And then on your second point about traveling, because I've been traveling a while, and I think it's an interesting question. What is traveling? People who aren't traveling, like when I was in my 9 to 5 and I was looking at people traveling, what did I actually mean or think of? What was my concept of that? Going around different places? Is that traveling? Meeting other people? Is that traveling? But like you said, once you've gone around a few places, that sort of wanderlust and, you know, whatever it is you're searching for, you don't find it, in my opinion, you don't find it by visiting a new place.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think that, like what you said in terms of you have to have a crystal clear vision of who you want to be. Once you have a goal, everything else just reveals itself, right? You have to attack the biggest picture. And I think the conversation has to start there.
Yeah.
Without that, you don't know where you're going. You are just like Forrest Gump, who is just a leaf in the wind.
Yeah.
Just see where life takes you. If you probably have a lot of friends back in hometown who are still staying in the same place, but they're also not happy with where they are. But the craziest thing is they don't make any effort to change it.
Yeah.
And all of that has to do, I believe, with staying with the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
Because the environment that you're in is especially not just the location-wise. It's the friends that you hang out with, the conversations that you have. If you are working 9 to 5 jobs and you are, staying with family or whatnot, you are only going to have the same repeated types of conversations. You can never get out of it. So there will be glimpses on YouTube. If you have like a mentor or if you have someone that you really look up to, you can look at their lives and say, that's something that I wish to have. That's a glimpse into who you can become. So I'm just really harping into what you said, which is you need to have a vision where you want to be, who you want to become. And then you really need to explore different people, conversations, different places, and then everything else it reveals itself. That's why I think what you're doing is super powerful. Your services are so powerful and inspiring. You tell these people that you can travel if you just put 3 to 6 months into it. Anybody can do this.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, is it? Because it's so attainable.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like it until they actually put their foot in the door. What would you say the first step a person can take to really realize this potential?
Great question.
Yeah.
And I want to come back and I want to ask you about your vision as well, because I'm really interested, because you have a really powerful vision. So that's a great question, and thank you for saying that. And yeah, I mean, like everything that I teach is be more you. Like you should have more time to do the things that are serving those around you. You should be doing that.
Yes.
You should be finding how you can be optimal throughout your day to serve other people and best serve the world. I mean, one of my favorite quotes or ideas is the only thing we can do with our time is give it away.
Yeah.
You can't hoard it, you can't store it, you can't save it for later. The only thing you can do is give your time away. So how can you be most valuable? How can you use your time in a way that is the most valuable? For me, that's an interesting question. And if you're stuck in a 9 to 5, or you're stuck doing something you don't like, or you've tried to do something online and it's not working, so you have to, do freelancing work or whatever it is, my belief is that everyone is missing out because you're stagnated. You're kind of putting a choke on what you're able to give and give out to others. So what's interesting for me is, like, I love traveling, whatever that means, but I love meeting people, I love being in places, I love experiencing, and just being free. I love that freedom of feeling. Maybe I'll settle down somewhere soon, but at the moment, it's the contrast for me. It's like, right, I was in the prison, now I'm feel free. So that's what traveling kind of brings for me at the moment. But if giving people like a framework to be able to achieve whatever that freedom looks like for them, so that they can be more them and give more of the gifts that they need to give to bring everyone up. Like, for me, that's the question. That's what I'm all about. That's the question that I'm asking kind of, every day.
What do you think is the spark that you can provide for other people to start even on that journey?
Yeah, great question. So the first step is, one, it's the vision. That is the first step, is having that vision. Now, spend some time doing that. Spend some time writing down your vision, getting crystal clear. Now, this will change over time. If you're really stuck in something that's shitty and you hate, your vision you might not even realize what 3 months of hard work can actually get you. You'll probably achieve your first vision very, very quickly. Yeah. Now, the first thing you can do after you've got that and you've written down the things that you need to do in order to get there, you also need to write down, and this is what people miss out, the things you need to stop doing. You can't just add in more. You need to get rid of some things. You need to make space. So the first step, have the vision. One thing that you're going to do tomorrow, or right now, even better, right fucking now. One thing you're going to do right now that's going to move you towards that, and one thing that you're going to stop doing that is also going to move you towards that. That's the first step. Do that for a week, add in another one. Do that for another week, add in another one. And then the momentum builds.
That's a solid system. But I think, in my experience, the biggest thing is the knowledge is out there, all the strategies are out there, but what's really stopping them is fear.
Yes.
Fear.
Yes.
And I believe that the motivation to actually start wanting to give value to other people has to start from a selfish point of view. Let me explain why. Let's say I want to feel more important. I want hotter girls. I want to go to all these places that all these celebrities are going.
Yeah.
Because we're all childish. Innately, we're all childish. So if we just cater to that, in the end, if you keep following it and you keep bettering yourself to be able to achieve those goals, you keep having higher conversations, meeting higher quality people, eventually you're going to learn, for you to be an important person in this world, for you to be the best you can be in this world, you have to be offering value. So you have to be the most selfless that you can be to be the most selfish.
Yes.
That's crazy, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're right. I think you're absolutely right. How did you figure that out for yourself?
It started from me being miserable in my position, where I wanted to really be important as an artist, and shit was not working. I was working at pharmacy, and I was in a relationship, and I felt like everything was dragging me down. Even staying with my family, because they are not into self-help, I was the only person that was probably crazy, trying to improve myself. Nobody was echoing what I was saying. And then I decided, perhaps maybe, if I can see a glimpse of what on the other side, feels like, maybe I can get out of it. So what I just decided to do is take a week off of my work. I used my savings, $2,000-$3,000. Anybody can do that, right? Anybody has that much amount of money from working a day job. I went to Gold Coast without any plan. I flew over there, and I just started sitting down at a cafe, just doing whatever jobs on the laptop. And then I just started seeing different types of people, different caliber of people, how they move, inspiration from looking at all these beautiful women that I was never able to access in little small town that I was from, which is Canberra from Australia.
Yeah.
And I got into conversations with British friends, and they are much cooler than I was.
You sure?
Much cooler than I was. And then I came back after a week, and I felt I have to go back.
Okay.
I can't stay here.
Yeah.
And that was that pain that was driving me. Also, there was that pleasure, which is like, I want to get there. So the motivation was being drawn out of from both ends. I think that if anybody really wants to get out of the 9-to-5 jobs, they have to actualize that lifestyle, buying, visiting new places, seeing what's really possible, not just watching on YouTube. I think it's one thing to just see it on the screen and to actually be in that environment, feel it, have different conversations, see how people are actually more energized compared to your hometowns. Once you actually embody it, your body is a crazy, crazy thing. You can always adjust to new environments and you elevate your frequency. And when you come back, you realize I am too big of a person to be stuck in this place. So I really, really encourage anybody to really go to new travel places and just spend money. It's okay. Spend a week, even 3 days. 3 days, I think, is a little bit too short. But if you can take a week off, that's fucking great. But I must insist that you have to go alone. If you go there with other people, let's say your girlfriend, you may, if you're a guy, you may just cater to the girls wants, and you just end up being like, okay, what do you want to eat? Where do you want to go? And sit at the beach and really not challenge yourself in any way and stay in your little bubble. You're always going to feel like you're still in your old hometown, even though you're in a different place, because you got that feedback of the old mentality. So I really encourage that you go outside alone. That would be my biggest takeaway from my personal experience in terms of getting out of the rat race.
So that's awesome, man. And I think that's really interesting. You said go alone and the insights that you yourself got from doing that. So you went away alone. You had an amazing week, 2 weeks, and then you knew that you needed to come back. So how did you make that happen?
Yes. So when I came back, it was always on my mind. You keep on saying you have to visualize where you want to go, and you have to keep embracing, feeding yourself with information and surround yourself with that type of people. I started attracting like-minded people, even though I was in my own little hometown, because I was always only consuming information that was resonating with me. I stayed in that mindset. I almost didn't want to talk to my old friends. And I was sitting in a cafe, and this old guy was sitting next to me. And I was just making some music by myself in a little cafe. And he comes up to me and says, hey, what are you working on? And those conversations do happen. Even if you're not in the music industry, you just have random conversations with people around. And he really saw the drive in me. And he saw that I actually did not belong in that hometown. And we just started having conversations about health, self-help, meditations. And then he started becoming a mentor to me. And one thing he kept on harping was, you have to make the jump and move to a different place where it's more happening for you. You have to put yourself in a situation where it's fight or die. So I met that guy. He kept on saying that I have to fucking make it work. Then I made a move. I saved up a bit of money, and I went to Gold Coast, applied probably 80 different jobs.
Okay.
Before I went there. And I offered services of photography, videography, which I had some knowledge of doing. And I basically went there, rented a place. It's really easy to actually make a move. Super damn easy, but people are so scared. It's literally pack your bags and rent a place, just agree, and then you move there. That's it. I wish there were more steps, but there isn't. Anyway, I went there.
I love how simple you.
Yeah, and then when I got there, I went on about four to five different job interviews.
Yeah.
And I got a job at one of those places.
Okay.
And at the same time, I kept on making music, and I got on this service selling website called Fiverr.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was grinding my ass away in the meantime, when I was not working my 9-to-5 jobs, I got promoted selected to be a pro seller. And then that gave me a lot of traction. And from there, I started to make money online.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized if I'm making money online and I'm paying, let's say, like $1,500 a fortnight, a month, just on rent, one room, I could actually live in Bali, Thailand, Fiji, and probably rent a villa for that price.
Yeah.
And I thought that it made no sense for me to stay there. And I just decided to make a jump and see how that feels like. I just booked a plane ticket, booked an Airbnb. And I got there and I realized it wasn't actually that difficult. It's only one flight ticket away. $500 return ticket. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. Even less if you book one way.
Exactly.
Burn the boats. Yeah, man, I love how simple you've kind of made that. And it is about taking that leap of faith, I guess, and betting on yourself as well. I think it's interesting how you said before about what's often stopping people is fear.
Yes.
And yeah, that's fear of what might happen. And no one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. We might walk out, get hit by a bus. We might meet the love of our life tomorrow. Like anything could happen. Anything could happen. But one thing you can do to kind of negate that fear, the reason you probably feel fear is because you don't feel confident betting on yourself. So how do you feel confident betting on yourself? Get good at a few skills. Get good at something. You don't have to be like a pro at everything in your life. Just get good at one thing that you're good enough that you know you can either make money or you can make friends or you can make connections, whatever it is, you can be the person who is able to bet on yourself. A lot of the time, people who are afraid to take a risk is because they know how they operate on a daily basis. They know that when they see a donut, they're going to have the extra one. When they see something like a girl on Instagram, that's going to lead them down a rabbit hole of wasting their time for the next however long. If you're constantly doing that, you can't hide from yourself. You know the decisions you're making. So when it comes to bet on yourself, as much as you might want to take that risk, you know that perhaps you're not trustworthy. You can't trust what you say you're going to do because of how you act on a daily basis. There's no hiding from that. So I think, a big step of being in the position, because I imagine you said you met that mentor, you were already really into the self-help space. Like there has to be, like I think often everyone takes it for granted, some of the things you've overcome yourself and where you've got to, but realize that a lot of people, I don't want to sound like a dickhead here, but like a lot of people haven't even started that journey of working on themselves, and they're just a slave to their habits and their impulses. And really, it's great for me to sort of say, I have a big vision and then you start this business. But you're not ready to do that until you've done sort of some groundwork on yourself. You're not ready to book that plane ticket. Yes, you should sort of throw yourself in the deep end sometimes, but get yourself in a position where you know how you act on a daily basis, that you are someone to bet on, that you are trustworthy, that you invest in yourself. And I think that's going to give you the confidence to take that step and make it work.
I have a question. Do you think we can save people from self-sabotaging? People who don't have the drive to self-help?
I don't think we can.
Yes.
I think they can. And I watched an amazing video the other day. It talked about, it was basically the concept of the devil on your shoulder or the angel on your shoulder, but kind of, I think we all have that every day. Yeah. And I think the closer we get to a goal, the closer we get to achieving something and breaking through to that next level, it's like an equal and opposite force pulling you both ways. You're nearly at that goal. The temptation to self-sabotage when you're just about to hit that goal comes in 10x. That's pulling you, and it's the final test, it's the final boss. To get to that next level is when you're going to have to beat the boss, and then you're at that next level. And I have found that in my own life, that the times where I'm about to, like, financially or just with anything, just any sort of connections I'm making, and, you know, habits, gym, whatever it is, when I'm just getting there, that's when it starts to really pull. And sometimes I've let it pull me back down. But you can always go again, you know, it's not, but I think, can people, how do you get past that self-sabotage? I think a big part of it comes down to your belief system. So if you believe life is worth living, if you believe that there's a reason to your life and there's a purpose to being here, then you're going to have strong conviction in the actions that you take. And I think, you know, the people I like to work with, one of the tags in sort of my bio is like, I work with purpose-driven people. If you're purpose-driven, you definitely have some sort of belief system. Now, it's not for me or anyone else to say what that is, but a lot of people live in a very sort of nihilistic state, that nothing really matters. Oh, fuck this, I'll go drinking at the weekend. Yeah, I'll fuck her. Yeah, I'll do this. Yeah, I'll drink more, eat more, because it doesn't matter anyway. Now, that could be the case. But personally, I choose to believe that there is much more purpose in life, and I believe we all have a mission. We're all put here to find out what that is, you know. And I think this is going to take an interesting turn, but I think first, connecting with that higher sense of purpose, that if it's God to you, if it's a higher power, if it's the universe, if you're more like in the spiritual kind of terminology, whatever that is to you, I think we can all find a connection to it. Personally, I believe the times I felt the most pain in my life, as weirdly the time I felt the most connection to that. I think usually because that's the time I've been furthest away from it, and then something has cracked, and then that pain has actually brought me closer to this. So I think whether people want to admit it or not, I think a connection to God and a connection to something higher is what is going to enable you to deal with that self-sabotage. I kind of said a lot there, but I don't know what you think about some of those things.
I think that because I'm just thinking about my close friends and family who are, you know, not really happy with themselves and also where they are. So I'm just trying to think about how they can elevate themselves and be in a better mental space. I believe that there are practical steps to make it happen. The biggest thing is because we are products of our environments, even though we really think that we have so much choice and freedom over our actions, all the things that you're doing have been decided maybe yesterday by the actions that you made yesterday. All those things lead to you lead to you eating that donut because you maybe went to bed late. So you have no willpower today to say no to it. Maybe you were angry at somebody yesterday, you lashed out, and you say, fuck it, man, like, I need this de-stressing time, and you eat that donut. So what I'm getting at is that change your environment is the biggest thing. If you don't have the willpower and the internal motivation to really change anything, be in a place where it's already changed for you.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've not necessarily thought about it like that before, but that's kind of like a hack. Like, rather than rely on sheer willpower and a sheer reason why, just literally hack it and just put yourself in a new environment, give yourself new data to ingest, and you see, watch how other people are operating, and just allow that, you know, the conversations you're having, that becomes part of you, you know, that's classic, you become the sum total of the 4 or 5 people you spend the most time with. That's absolutely true. You pick up their bad habits, you pick up their good habits as well. So find a location, like you said, where are, not just where is this a beautiful location, where are lots of people doing the thing that I want to do, or the same mindset. I mean, I guess that's Silicon Valley. Like, right, I want to start a fintech or have a startup. I'm going to go to Silicon Valley.
Yes.
You know, right, I want to make it in finance. I'm going to go to New York. Whatever it is, I'm going to get into kind of the creative space. Like, you know, what places can I go which is going to surround me with those people? And I think that's a really interesting hack.
If you are really scared to make the jump to travel to a different place, just do this. Maybe take a baby step. Go to a very expensive, fancy hotel. And don't go into the rooms or anything. Don't try to sneak up there or anything like that. Just go to their cafe. Luke Belma said this. If you just have coffee at affluent places, exotic, you know, expensive places, you just absorb the energy. Can you do that? That's like the step number one. If you can't make that baby step, I'm not sure if you have the courage in you to do anything else. Maybe make that your biggest first goal, just to be outside of the comfort zone just a little bit. You don't lose anything. No one's gonna shush you away if you go to that nice hotel place and sit there for a coffee. You might pay $8 for coffee, but you will learn in 10 folds what you paid for coffee.
It's a good investment.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's really interesting. And I think a big limiting belief that people have, and I was quite lucky to break this early. A lot of people, there's still this stigma around success, finance, and money. And I'll make it clear, I'm by no means at where I know I'm going to get to. But like, what I have come to realize is the more value I provide, the more value I get back in money, currency. Currency is a flow of value exchange. So, okay, put that aside for a minute. But if you surround yourself with successful people, like you said, and you start to view how they operate, you start to realize, in my personal experience, that like they're really good people. They're really, really good people.
That's how they became successful. Most of the time.
Most of the time, they add loads of value. When they say they're going to do something, they do it. They show up on time. They have good habits. And I was quite lucky. So when I was younger, I used to gig quite a lot when I grew up in Cyprus. And I used to play at a lot of weddings, like an acoustic duo. And we used to play at like some very fancy resort in Cyprus where people were spending just, I don't know how much money they were spending on their weddings. But we were very expensive just to hire for the hour. So the type of people booking us for their weddings were usually very, very successful people. Now, when you're a musician, as you'll know, people just, for some reason, just are like, oh, you'll come and sit with us. We want to, and they buy you things and they give you tips. And it's a weird superpower about being a musician. But a lot of the people that I used to, so those wedding gigs were amazing. We got paid way too much money. And as like a 17, 18-year-old, I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm just plucking the guitar a little bit. We got paid way too much money. But then afterwards, they just invited you into the wedding. So come sit, have the food with us. We loved when you did this. And you start talking to these people. And, you know, obviously alcohol is sometimes flowing, so they're a little bit more, you know, relaxed with what's coming out. But you start to realize like when you surround yourself with really like super high earners, millionaires, you're good people, you know? And that's something that I've kind of realized is, you know, your wealth and everything is just a reflection of yourself and the habits you have. And if you're going to run a business is a reflection of you. There's this famous quote that if you have a problem in your business, you don't have a business problem, you have a personal problem. It's just manifesting or reflecting in your business. And I think to address the core of that, to have a really successful business, you have to address the things in yourself. Okay, there's probably holes in yourself. And through, you know, running a business and having clients, seeing where the holes are, I've always realized, fuck, that's a hole in myself. And it's a really interesting, if you're humble enough to sort of approach it like that, it teaches you a lot about yourself. And you've got one choice. You've got two choices. You either sort of ignore it and then clients don't get as good results. You then don't get a good reputation. Then eventually what's going to happen? You're going to get less and less clients, bad word of mouth, your business is going to fail. Or you do the inner work that then reflects in the business so that you know that's the kind of the choice you have. It's been a really interesting, because when you put yourself out there as a business, you kind of put yourself out there. And if you do have flaws, again, I'm not saying that you should be perfect, because no one's perfect, but your flaws will be reflected in your business. So you're going to have to be ready to face the music.
Yes.
Most people, or not most people, I think unsuccessful businesses, the reason it will fail is because people aren't willing to address those flaws. When they do inevitably come back, make sure you're ready to fucking address them. I think that's something I've learned through all of everything I just said, like with meeting people, the ones who've had that sustained success, and then lessons I've learned, just really with the business in its infancy, to be honest, with where it's going to go.
What would you say has been the biggest block for you in terms of running your own business? Where did you lack the most?
Yeah, so it's the lever moving tasks. I can work on my business for 24 hours a day if I want to, responding to clients, doing bits of content. That's not going to grow my business. What's going to grow my business is probably 3 things a day, and they need to have most of my attention. It's the 80-20 rule, So I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned that I often have done in the past in my life is I've taken on a lot and I've always been really busy. And just because I've been busy doesn't mean that I've been productive. Whereas now, every day, I write down my goals and then I write down the 3 things that are going to move me towards all of those goals. And I'm like, right, make sure I do fucking those. And if I've done those, I've won. The rest, okay, I will have time to do it. And I always block in time to, I don't answer any client messages until after 12 o'clock, because DMs are a dangerous place. Yes, they need to see you and you need to interact with your clients, but you can just go back and forth all day. Same with Instagram, talking to prospects, whatever it is. You can go back and forth all day, so you have to be conscious and considered with your time. And I think that's been the biggest thing that I've learned is sometimes I've been like, well, look, I'm really busy, I'm doing this. And it's almost been an ego thing. Look how much I'm doing. But really, I've been just busy doing fluff work. Fuck all, really. Mate, exactly. But I'm being busy, so I felt good about myself.
Yes.
But the thing that I have learned, and the thing where I've seen the biggest shift is, right, that's my big step today. Okay? That tomorrow, rather than all this little busy work.
Yes. That takes discipline, man. Do you think that takes discipline?
Yeah.
For me, the way I approach discipline is I realize that I have tried for so many years to get this discipline down, because at one point I realized consistency is mandatory for your success. And I try to just hack it by willpower. Always, I believe in myself. I'm so confident that if I just if I just start working on it every single day, one day I would work 10 hours and I would feel so good. But the next day I always had a crash doing nothing. I was so burnt out. The only reason for me to build discipline is because in a way I'm not confident in myself that I need a safe space for me to fall back on. So I'm so lazy that I have to create a system for myself to fall into. It's so easy for everybody to go to work, wake up at 5 a.m. even, and stay there for 10 hours because you have to do it. You have to create that system for yourself. Otherwise, that system gets put onto you by other people. That's designed by other people. That's what I realized, man. And that's amazing that you are able to prioritize so well and also have that enough discipline to attack those 3 tasks.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. It's what you kind of, how this conversation started, and it's you being able to create systems for yourself. And I would agree with you. I think naturally, and maybe most people are, quite lazy. And I don't know, one of the people who comes to mind. I think
I'm lazy too, bro. Do you think you're lazy?
I think naturally, I think it's a comfort thing. It's like that falling into, the person that comes to mind is David Goggins. He was, his physical manifestation, look, we were speaking about this before we started the conversation, was this idea of be, do, have. His physical manifestation of his inner state was fat and overweight. because that was his mindset. You know, it was comfort. It was just acting on the comfort, acting on the impulses. And he's like the king of discipline, isn't he? The palace in your mind. He is the king of discipline. Yeah. And I mean, he's a huge inspiration of what you can achieve. So yeah, I think it's an interesting question. Is everyone naturally? And I'd love to speak to someone like, you know, like Andrew Huberman would have some like, well, actually, it's your dopamine. You're chasing this bit of dopamine, and I'm not technically minded in that way. But I'd be interested to know what that was. Is how we're describing it now. Is everyone just lazy? And that's the fight. You have to reprogram what dopamine you're chasing. Like we're all chasing pleasure, really. Like the reason, like kind of what you said, selfishly, to achieve anything, it turns out that what you have to do is give loads of value, and that's actually how you achieve the most. Yes. But that's still chasing pleasure. Whereas before it was chasing a different kind of pleasure. It was chasing the easy pleasure. So I guess it comes into that thing of like delayed gratification, chase the long-term pleasure. So yeah, man, I don't know. I think it's a really interesting question. It's like, are we all inherently lazy, or is that just how we're wired naturally? And I really don't know. It's interesting.
The only antidote that I found to be working was this book called The Now Habit.
I've been recommended this.
Yeah. So I know that I'm a chronic procrastinator, and I always felt so guilty procrastinating.
Yeah.
And what that book provides is I read the audio book version of it, and he reads in such a comforting manner.
Nice.
And he explains to you exactly why you're procrastinating. Okay. It's not actually because you want to, you are super lazy that you're a piece of shit or anything like that. It's actually because you are so scared, and your ego of who you want to be, your need to feel important is being attacked by you not working on it. So you just want to feel a little bit of comfort by procrastinating. And when you procrastinate, you still have the potential to make it if you tried. So it's a very interesting mindfuck where you put yourself in a place where you can actually succeed if you do.
Yeah.
But because I'm procrastinating, I don't have to face the risk of failing.
Yes.
Am I making myself clear?
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's that identity thing as well. I think we spoke about this a little bit yesterday. And I'm definitely going to, by the way, I've got 1 credit on Audible. Yeah. I'm going to, after this conversation, download it. I've been recommended that 2 or 3 times now. And it's similar to Stephen Pressfield does a book called The War of Art. I don't know if you've read that.
I heard of it.
It's also that resistance is the way. Like the way forward is the thing you're feeling the resistance to is the thing you should probably be doing.
Is it similar to the way Ryan Holiday describes obstacle is the way?
Yeah, similar, very, very similar. Yeah. But you're totally making sense with what you said, that you can, we all, in order to, again, in order to have any change in your life, you have to become a new person. The person that you are right now, your physical world is a reflection of all of the things that you're doing on a daily basis. So if you want to change your outer reality, something internally has to change first. But your external world and everything around you confirms your current self-identity.
Yes.
The interactions you have, the way you speak to other people, the things you're doing, the environment that you're in, that confirms your current self-identity. So you need to kind of break that, but that's difficult because I think this can probably be much more eloquently described. Perhaps this is our ego that holds on to that self-identity because it feels comfort, the things that give it comfort, and that's why it's hard to break out of. But I think it's that, changing that self-identity, and then that changes what you do, and then that changes what you have, be, do, have. So you need to become someone else, and then that changes what you do, and that changes what you have. And that's one of, over the last few years, I've found this to be true in just every way. So many spiritual teachings, so many self-help teachings, they're really describing that principle. If you can get a really good grasp on that principle, be, do, have, you can understand how to sort of change anything. I'm still getting better of it. I'm still trying to work to get really clear on what it is that I want to have, and then who I have to become. But I think everything you said about procrastinating to get that comfort of reconfirming who you are, because it's scared. I think that's what it is. It's the ego. It's the ego stopping you, because the ego has to die. That bit of you has to die, and that's scary. That's hard. So it's easier to just do those comfortable things that confirm that current level of where you are.
The only reason why that book worked on fixing my procrastination habits, but every other book and all the other messages in the self-help community didn't, is because that was compassionate. Whereas so many videos you watch on Reels, let's get back to fucking work. What are you doing? Let's fucking crush it. Come on, we need to do more. One more. Face your fears. Let's go at it. And when that much pressure is put onto you, and you're not doing it, let's say you slip up once, what happens to your self-talk?
Yes.
You fall so deep into the negative self-talk. Oh my God, I'm not doing enough. You feel shitty, so you want to feel a bit better. You start eating something. But that book tells you it's okay, man. Everybody feels this way. You are understood. And this is the reason why you feel this way. And here are the practical steps. No pressure if you don't do it. Let's take a week and just analyze yourself. Watch yourself as you procrastinate. And analyze and look back in a week. Okay, this is what happened. I have an understanding of how I operate, what my behaviors are like. And let's make one change for the next week. Let's make one. We can do that. We're lazy, but we're not that lazy. We all want to improve ourselves, but we also have an understanding of how self-talk work during that 1 week of evaluation. That's what the book talks about. And once you go through those, understand that, okay, I need to be more kind to myself. I need to be a little more appreciative of all the work that I put in so far and this week. Whatever I said that I was going to do, if I did it, instead of saying, I should have done one more, I could do one more. Be happy in it. Use that success, feed it into your self-talk, put it into a positive spiral, upward spiral. And then once you're in a flow where you're up there, where you can't be knocked down by anything negative from outside, and then you can start applying compression. Let's do one more. This is not enough. You're a badass motherfucker. We can do one more. What is this? This is nothing. I think that the first step has to come from compassion. That's my take on it.
I think that's some just beautiful wisdom, and I think that's inspiring for people to hear, and very compassionate. I think it's really inspiring for people to hear, and people accept where you are right now, and like you said, build that winner effect. Okay, I've done one thing that was fucking good. Yes, I feel good about myself. Oh, this week I've done 2 things, 3 things, and like you said, you're outworking your self-doubt.
Because when you're in a low place and you have such a high standard, it's only going to push you even further back down. I think that you need to lower your standard when you're at the bottom. And then when you're happy with the little achievements that you have, you start feeding yourself upwards. And when you're up top, and then you can even bring it up higher because the current is going upwards.
Yes, mate, that's so true. It's that comparison is the thief of joy. So if you're comparing your day 1 to someone else's day 1,000, you're not going to be where they are. But if you don't have your day 1, you're never going to get to their day 1,000.
Yes, absolutely.
Bro, let's put a pin in things here because we're in a really hot room. Let's open the door, let's have a drink, whatever, and then we'll re-go for the second part because I want to hear about your vision, I want to hear about the future. But we've got 1 fan in here and there's no circulation. So
it's a bit sweaty.
Let's cool down, come back in and then hit this hard.
Beautiful.
Perfect.